call the matter of People versus David Funston, case number 622109002. Mr. Funston is present.
Mr. Funston's arraignment was continued for 1 week until March 9th in Department 32 in the other courthouse at 8:30 in the morning. He remains in custody without bail, and there will be a bail motion next week at that time to address his custody status going forward with the case. We were made aware of the full parole board's decision shortly after it was made back on the 18th. I found out from another prosecutor that he was being paroled. We had known about Mr. Funston. Mr. Funston's case was dismissed back in 2006. We were aware of those charges, so he was sort of on our radar. But really, once we found out he was being paroled, we sort of had to assess what the options were for our case. Number one, it's not about any sort of statewide decision on parole. It's really about what's best for this case, which means there's some work that we have to do behind the scenes to make sure our case is legally sufficient and ready. Requires us to reach out to certain folks and do things, which we did, and making that determination that prosecuting Mr. Funston for those crimes back then was the appropriate thing to do. We filed the charges and sought to get him into custody as soon as possible. We would do that on a case like this regardless, but given the exigent circumstances of his immediate release, it made it move that much quicker. So he's currently charged with 1 count of a violation of Penal Code Section 288A, which is a lewd and lascivious act on a child under 14. I can't talk specifically about the underlying facts of the charges, but that's what he's charged with today. So this particular crime has a determinate sentence of 3 years, 6 years, or 8 years that can be adjusted depending on additional charges that could be filed. Obviously, we would have to have victim participation in a case like this. She has agreed and is willing. I've prosecuted a large number of these cases over the course of my 27-year career, and the information I read in that transcript, I would have voted very differently. I would have denied parole and kept him in. That's where he belongs. And so I disagreed incredibly with some of the findings that were made, given some of the facts that were disclosed throughout the course of that hearing.
Yeah. And why wasn't this case charged in 1996?
Well, at the time, Mr. Funston was already being prosecuted and convicted and sentenced to life sentences. And in those days, life sentences meant just that, life sentences. So that's sort of what the thought process was back then, was why go through all of the resources, why put another victim through it when this ordeal had just concluded with an end result that everyone was satisfied with. But the statute of limitations allows us to continue to prosecute. So in these kinds of cases, I'm always concerned that someone with these charges and this propensity and proclivity for committing these kinds of crimes would victimize someone else again. So absolutely, that was on the forefront of our minds. But at the end of the day, is prosecuting this case the right thing to do to hold him accountable? The answer to that question is yes.